Good evening. This is your state representative, Eric Nesbitt. And this is one of my telephone town halls. I like hosting these every so often, just to stay in touch with constituents and stay updated back at home with what's on people's minds, and if they have any suggestions, comments, or opinions on any state issues that are going on at this time. If any time during this conference call, if you'd like to ask me a question or just provide a quick comment, I try to get through as many people as possible each evening. Just simply push 0 on your touch-tone phone. That's just press 0 on your touch-tone phone. Again, this is Eric Nesbitt, your state representative. I'm going to start off with a quick little legislative update and provide a little information on what I've been working on and what's been going on in the legislature. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns, simply push 0 on your touch-tone phone. To start off with, I just want to thank everybody for joining me this evening, and this is just a good way using technology to stay updated on what's going on. Some of the areas I've been working on and delivering results have, first off, is really expanding career and technical education. That's career training, vocational education, career readiness programs. The old Michigan Merit Curriculum just didn't provide enough flexibility for students who want to be career ready when they were done with high school. And so I worked in a bipartisan way with my colleagues to work on expanding opportunities for more technical education, which provides greater flexibility in our curriculum, promotes extensive training in high-demand fields for knowledgeable, skilled workers. These added opportunities will help keep our young talents here and also help try to match up where we have a skills gap with those individuals that have a skill. And so this is an area that I continue to work on, and we got this signed by the governor earlier this year. Education funding, this has been a priority. I've been a proud product of public education. I graduated from Lawton High School, and same school as my brothers and my dad and grandfather graduated from. They're really a cornerstone of our communities. And since 2011, successfully have worked to increase the amount we've invested in the classrooms and public education by $1 billion. This recent budget, we worked to provide those with the lowest per pupil allowance, those with the lowest per pupil foundational allowances in most of our school districts in Van Buren and Kalamazoo County with a $175 per pupil increase. And this helps close the gap between the largest and smallest per pupil funded districts, and it helps dedicate also $1.1 billion in paying off legacy costs, these long-term liabilities and debts that our children and grandchildren don't have to pay for. It also appropriates an additional $65 million for pre-K education. That's early childhood development. Michigan, we've seen 2 years in a row where we've had the largest increase in terms of early childhood education in the nation, actually, and trying to work to make Michigan a no-wait state so that those who want to have those slots available will be able to have them. This will help provide 16,000 half-day placements for family looking to provide better learning opportunities early on. Again, if you have a question or comment or concern, simply push 0 on your touch-tone phone, and we'll get you in the queue, and we'll try to get through after this legislative update. We'll try to get through as many individuals as possible. Road funding continues to be a top issue for me. Michigan roads for too long have been neglected, and we've seen in recent years in the past where MDOT hasn't even come close to meeting the amount necessary to bring down even some federal monies. Lack of funding hurts our state's ability to maintain our roads in good conditions, and I know just like a lot of you having to get wheel realignments this past spring, busted tires, we end up paying for it in the long run, not just with the crumbling infrastructure, but over the last 3 years, I've worked to dedicate nearly $870 million more towards our roads, and that's without raising taxes. There is a House version, a House transportation plan that's over in the Senate right now that would put in another $500 million per road per year into our roads to help us ensure that we have those properly funded. What was sent over to the Senate is still folks taking a look at over in the Senate. So hopefully we can see some action soon this fall. In terms of another issue that's I think big in our area, unfortunately, is methamphetamine. Meth continues to ravage families and people across our area. Something I've worked on is to ban what's called smurfing. This is where the meth production folks work to get individuals to buy small quantities of pseudoephedrine and try to bring that back to the individuals making meth. And this helps provide law enforcement, and this helps provide law enforcement or prosecutors some tools to ensure that they're able to combat this horrible epidemic. Another area is chair of the Energy and Technology Committee. I've been working to allow natural gas expansion into unserved and underserved areas, especially in rural areas. After this last winter, we understand how important heat and energy is. That's why I worked last year in a bipartisan way to pass better permanent funding for low-income heating assistance to help those most in need, to ensure that they have long-term stable assistance in terms of providing those individuals so they don't go cold. But we do know residents need access to affordable, reliable energy, and my legislation would help expand natural gas in rural areas, and it also help promote pipeline safety by providing greater communication between workers and local elected officials, strengthen pipeline maintenance, ensure companies pay fines with their money, not the customers' or ratepayers' money if something does go wrong. Another success we had earlier this year that I was a co-sponsor of was elimination of the driver responsibility fees. It shouldn't be the business of the state to fine someone twice just because it can. This old driver responsibility fee, it punished states' working families for too long, and it really put people on the lower income scales in this cycle of poverty and increased fees and fines, which just doesn't help out. And so those are a few of the areas. Another area that I know I get a lot of issues on, or a lot of questions on, is regarding no-fault auto insurance. And you're right, Michigan has some of the highest costs for auto insurance in the nation. And I have to pay my bill this next week for my auto insurance, and I never look forward to that. I'm on the insurance committee, and we passed a plan that would lower the amount of auto insurance, would reform the system in Michigan to allow still good benefits for those that get into car accidents or have a catastrophic incident, but also provide some predictability for the system and stability for the system to ensure that we can lower the cost on auto insurance. This is a very important issue, I think, for a lot of individuals and working families out there. Just as a reminder, if you have a question or concern, please feel free to press 0 to ask a question, and I'll try to get through as many as possible. So just simply press 0 if you have a question. And so next up, we have, I guess the first one on the line was Norm from South Haven. Norm, are you there?
Yeah, that's Norm from South Haven.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, it's going really, really good. I appreciate you coming down and visit me a couple of weeks ago. A couple of concerns I have. I'm very interested in the community colleges and college events like University of Michigan and so forth. And the cost, I had one grandson just graduated from University of Michigan. It cost a fortune going there. And I don't know how, unless you have a very good income and have all A's and lucky or work, how in the future young people will be able to go to college unless they are pretty well to do. And community college is helping that a lot, and I kind of like to know what you're doing there. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is minimum wage. There's too many people that just work getting minimum wage, maybe $10 an hour. I think if we could raise the minimum wage, say up to 10 or 12, that would cause all the other ones to go up. And that would, I think, would stimulate the economy more than and help a lot more. And I don't think it would cause much inflation. I don't know, but those are my main concerns.
Well, thanks, Norm. Appreciate the question. The first one on college affordability. Norm's right. College, the cost of college is way too expensive. I was fortunate when I graduated from high school that I was able to get a lot of grants and scholarships to go through, but I'm still paying on my own college loans today. I have a few more months left, and so hopefully I can get through that pretty quickly. But in high school, I had the opportunity to be dual enrolled in high school, and so I took classes at Kalamazoo Valley Community College, like Lake Michigan College in South Haven, or Southwestern Michigan College down in Dowagiac. We have a great network of community colleges, and I was able to graduate with about 22 college credits after my senior year without a cost to me, and it helped me probably save about $5,000 to $8,000 worth of loans at the end of the day. So that's one area that I've been working on, is trying to provide greater opportunities and for high school students, not just for vocational education or going to the technology center, but also in terms of providing dual enrollment opportunities. And we passed some enhancements on that last legislature, and I was a big advocate because of my own background. Secondly, over the last 3 years, I've been working to provide tuition restraints on public universities here in Michigan. We all know over the last 30 years, if we think healthcare inflation's been out of control, higher education is even higher and more. And so this is something that I think has been important, providing some tuition restraints at public universities, providing incentive payments to them if they keep their tuition increases down. And providing more support for our young people. Both of my younger sisters, they both got their associate's degree before going on and getting their 4-year education degree. One went to Andrews University, the other to Grand Valley State University. In regards to minimum wage, Michigan's economy is still somewhat fragile. However, we did see an increase in the minimum wage it was about $7.45 an hour to $8.15 an hour on September 1st. That was passed with a bipartisan majority there. And that January 1st of 2016, it'll go up to $8.50. January 1st of 2017, it'll go up to $8.90. January 1st of 2018, it'll go up to $9.25. It's a real challenge of making sure that we have, that businesses are able to expand, explore, and that young people have opportunities. I remember my first job was working for my grandpa in his vineyard. I was paid about half minimum wage, and I don't know if I was worth that much, but it was my first job and really opening for clearing weeds out of a vineyard. But it's something where we do have to be cognitive of those with lesser means and helping make sure that there's job opportunities to expand here in Michigan. So that's a good question, Norm. Next up, we have again, just simply push 0 if zero if you'd like to ask a question or have a comment or concern. Again, just simply push 0. We have Paul. Paul from Kalamazoo is on the line with us now. How's it going?
Not too bad. How about you?
Beautiful night. A little rainy.
That's true. The question I have is, I've talked to a couple of your other colleagues about our no-fault insurance mess. And, I've been told for the last couple of years, well, we're working on bills. Well, apparently you guys aren't working very fast on them. And I've got a daughter and son-in-law that left Michigan. They've got exactly the same vehicles. They moved to California, southern L.A. They're paying less on insurance now for their vehicles with the same coverage in California. There's no excuse for our no-fault insurance. If you will recall, when it came into effect, there was only several copies in the state, and they passed it through anyway. And this year I got another.
That was passed a few years before I was born.
Well, so. that's that's the way it is. But apparently you guys don't want to do anything about it.
Well,
our insurance keep going up, and I've been told. Well, we're working on the bills. Well, there's some bills on the floor. Well, it's time to step up and do something.
Well, I support the bills that are on the floor, and we don't have the votes yet. So I'm hoping we can see action. Hoping later this year, but we might have to restart again next year, Paul. But it is something where in Michigan we're one of 12 states that operate under a no-fault insurance system. It came into being in the 1970s, passed by the legislature, signed by Governor Milliken. In Michigan, insurers are responsible for the first $530,000 of cost. That's your PIP insurance. So you have to look at how much that is on your car. Then on top of that is for the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Fund, which is $186 per vehicle, the highest it's ever been. And the MCCA, as I said, was created in '78. The goal was to spread costs all motorists to pay for Michigan's unique unlimited lifetime benefits. And the legislation I've supported would limit the maximum amount of auto no-fault benefits to about $1 million. This would cover the 99.5% of all medical claims. It would close off the current MCCA to new claims and would create a new fund. But even with this, was passed out of committee, in which I've supported, and would lower insurance rates anywhere from 15 to 20%. It's still sitting on the floor because we don't quite have the votes there yet, and so I'm going to continue to push for it and see if we can provide some relief. I'm one of 148 members in the total legislature, one out of 110, and so we continue to, you have to be able to find a consensus and try to provide the votes that are out there. So I appreciate the question. And it's something that we're going to continue. I'm going to continue working on. So thank you. Next up, we go back to South Haven. We have Kim on the line.
Yes. Hi.
How are you?
Good. My concerns are education. There seems to be a real disconnect between what we say is important to us and then the resources that we put into it. I am a teacher, and I have 2 kids in college, and yes, they have scholarships.
Thank you for your work.
You're welcome, but thanks does not put food on my table or help pay my kids' tuition. I have 2 master's degrees. I have 20 years experience. I get paid $15 an hour as a teacher. I have students who have graduated and not gone on to college who make just as much, if not more, than what I do. Yes, college bills are high, but, colleges do have to pay their teachers. They do have to somehow pay for their textbooks, their facilities, and when the money doesn't come from anywhere else, they've got to charge it to their consumer, which is us. And the same is true with public schools. When you are expected to have students achieve at a certain level, but the funds aren't there to do it, it's not going to happen. And yes, you said you've raised, the per pupil money, but that doesn't even come near what it used to be, and it's not where it should be. So teachers are getting tired of the blather, and instead we'd like to see people put their money where their mouth is. Thanks does not feed our families.
Well, thank you, Kim. One, for your service and your work, students, and 2, it's an area where we've seen the economic conditions of Michigan over the last 10 years and previous years, and we've struggled. You're right in terms of the income coming into the state, and the issues are there. When I came in 2011. That was when the federal stimulus package was ending, and there was about $650 million the federal government ended sending to Michigan. We had to adjust for that. We had a $1.5 billion deficit at the time. However, over the last 3.5 years, the amount that's been going into K-12 education has increased by $1 billion. Now, is it the right amount? That's something that we can continue to discuss and work on to make sure it's a priority. The state, the state put in another 4% into K-12 for this next fiscal year. You're right, absolutely right. Education is important for our children's future. And as a proud graduate of a public high school in Lawton, that like many families, my parents did not have the money to send me to college. I grew up on a dairy farm, and land rich, cash poor. We were officially under the poverty line. But they did give me a work ethic from growing up on the farm, and I worked my way through college. I had multiple part-time jobs during the school year and summers, including on area farms and some other local retail operations. I certainly understand paying for college is tough. And after 11 years, I finally finished off paying my undergraduate loans last year. I'm still paying on my graduate school loans. However, as your state representative, my goal is to empower students and parents to help make those right education choices for a brighter future, and to help provide them the tools to succeed. Now, you're on the front lines, and I'm up here and trying to set policy. That's something where I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you sometime, spend a day in the classroom to see the hands-on and front it hands-on and on the front lines. But, and this is about, working the way through of looking at education as not just in silos of K-12 and early education and higher education, but looking at it as in a continuum of learning. And that's something where I know there's a lot of passion that's out there, and I sincerely appreciate it. I like that people that go into teaching and education, they need to be respected. They need to be provided with that support. And if you have some other ideas and suggestions on how we can improve that, I'd be happy to sit down and listen. So Kim, I appreciate the question. And again, if other folks have questions or concerns, simply push 0 on your touch-tone phone, and be happy to get to you. Just push 0, and we're trying to get through as many questions as we can during this time. So next up, we have Marion from Lawton.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay, my concern was about the high cost of all this technology that we're, our TV, our internet, and our phone, everything. It's so high with Comcast. It's absolutely ridiculous. And no matter who you go with, no matter where you go in the country, they've got us all over a barrel paying $141 a month for this kind of service. When back years ago we had TV and we never paid anything for television.
Yeah, my parents still don't pay anything. They still have the rabbit ears.
Okay, maybe that's nice for some people,
yeah.
But some people like to get into a little technology. And if
Yep.
if you're a senior on your fixed income, these
becomes a real challenge.
They just rape you. They really
Yeah.
do. And then what kills me, really, I have to tell you this, Eric, when I called and asked them if I could drop something, they lowered my price, but then they extended the contract for another year without me even agreeing to that on the phone. They didn't ask me if I wanted to take the contract for another year. They just go ahead and do that without you knowing anything about it. And I have people that live on my road. I live on Waldron Drive outside of Lawton that say the same thing.
Well, and this is something where it's cost and service. A lot of the rules on cable companies are from the FCC at the federal level, and I know there's a lot of questions and challenges in terms of Comcast looking at we've been buying up more companies in terms of, I know that's going through the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, in terms of, how, the competitiveness. But I do think that we need to make sure we have a competitive telecommunications market. And
we don't. We really don't, Eric. And they don't do nobody's doing anything about it. Where are the people that stand up for the people that built this country? You get all these people on TV that make all these comments about what's going on with the government. Nobody's doing anything. It's really sad, and it's scary.
Well, if you have some, further, suggestions, I'm trying to work through, if you have some, I guess, in terms of creating a better marketplace, and this is something where I know that, investments for broadband and increasing broadband, this is something where I've been trying to work in a review in the committee and trying to, see what are some of the answers. I don't have them all yet, and if you have some suggestions on what we should be doing as a state, I'd be happy to take them down and take note and see what we can do.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much for hearing me out.
Yeah, but I have the same frustration with my Comcast bill. Believe me, I wasn't trying to be, glib with you earlier. Just, you're right. It's something where, for us,
if you're a senior and you have TV and you have, you want to get on, you want to learn to use the computer so that you're not left in the dark, and then you have your phone, and they give you $141 a month is a lot of money when you're a senior and you're on a fixed income. And I don't think that I'm alone.
Yep, no, my grandma's turning 93 in December, and believe me that in terms of the budgets and trying to make sure that they work, it's definitely a priority. So, I appreciate it, Marion, and look forward to talking to you again. Okay.
Okay, you have a great day, and thank you for doing as much as you do.
Yep, and appreciate that.
Okay.
Next up, we have, again, if you have a question or concern, please feel free to push 0 on your touch-tone phone. Next up, we have Michael in Matawan. Michael, are you there?
Hey, Eric, I sure am. How are you?
Oh, thanks for joining us. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, first off, not the purpose of my pushing 0, but sorry that you went to Lawton when you could have gone to an awesome school like Matawan. We do have a bond proposal, November 4, and I'd encourage your listeners to, if they're in the Matawan district, to please vote yes. Check yesformatawan.org for all kinds of information. We just put a new video out today, and man, we're way behind. We need to get caught back up.
Well, there's your public service announcement from Michael. I believe you had another question.
And thanks for allowing that. The question is regarding a bill that is awaiting the governor's signature, unless he acted on it today, and I don't know. But it's regarding automobile dealerships in Michigan. Depending on what you read and how you read it, the current bill, which you've sponsored, is going to keep Tesla Motors out of Michigan unless they have dealerships. The more I've read into it, the more I've read about it, though, the more I found there's more to the story than that. In fact, apparently there's currently state law that doesn't allow them to sell vehicles in Michigan unless they have a point of presence or a dealership. So what's the story there? What's your bill, and how does this affect Tesla Motors? Yeah,
that's a good question. It had nothing to do with Tesla, in my opinion, when it was starting out, or even as it went through the process. And I think there's been a lot of thanks for doing your own research on the bill. There's been some confusion in the media on the Senate version of my bill, HB 5606, that was adopted a few weeks ago. The primary change made in the bill refers to the charge dealerships use to cover preparing administrative documents and how it applies to buyers. The amendments added in the Senate were merely intended to clarify what has been status quo under Michigan law, which is to treat all new vehicle manufacturers, whether it's Ford or General Motors, Chrysler, Toyota, Tesla, Hyundai, Kia, and all the others the same. So this law goes back to decades, as we have auto franchise laws. In fact, under current Michigan law, even without, whether it's signed or not, does not allow car manufacturers to directly sell vehicles to an individual. Instead, Michigan long ago adopted a franchise dealer system for selling new vehicles. And from my understanding, the state agencies have consistently enforced this system. The Secretary of State's office has oversight of it. Further, Michigan law has long prohibited manufacturers from owning and operating repair centers, and Tesla, like Ford, GM, and others have to abide by those requirements. My bill's amendment does not change Michigan law, but rather clarifies that all companies have to play by the same rules. Now, just to clarify, you as a Michigan resident can still buy a Tesla vehicle, and Tesla as a manufacturer can still market their vehicles in the state, as they have done in recent years. Neither buying nor marketing a Tesla vehicle or any other in Michigan is banned under this bill, as some have erroneously claimed. It's one of those challenges in the world of social media, where we're trying to sort off the facts and the truth, but it's something where you're right. Michigan's auto franchise laws are old; they've been around for decades, and perhaps it's time for a reexamination to see what's fair and consistent among all, for all the auto manufacturers. And so this has been something I've been working through. It kind of came from a surprise. Last week kind of came to me as a surprise as I was dealing with these document fees and trying to level the playing field. But so that's the story. Does that help answer it?
It does, actually, and I think you're right. Maybe what we need to be doing is looking back at what you call these decades-old laws. Being able to sell direct to consumer, that's kind of the way things are going now. In fact, I don't think any of us would have Apple computers if we couldn't buy, from Apple. They've got their own stores, but you're basically buying direct from the manufacturer. Even if you buy it from Best Buy, that's an Apple store within Best Buy. So maybe it's time now for us to look at a new model of doing this. Maybe dealerships, there's lots of good that they do, but maybe it's time to look at a different model. And especially when you're talking about technology that's so different with Tesla. No oil change, man. There's a lot of advantages to electric, and it helps our country in a lot of ways too. So we should maybe do more to encourage this sort of thing.
Well, and it's not just, and that's the thing, that whenever I'm making laws, the challenge isn't for one specific company or one specific item. It's looking at how do you create a fair and level and even playing field among all the competitors and trying to make it fair and more efficient. Just as if you specially tailor a law to, let's say, Tesla and allowing them to do X, Y, and Z, what about Chery Motors from China, that doesn't necessarily have the same the same money behind it and the same customer service, but it's something that, there's some people that have questions on consumer protection laws and how that's dealt with in terms of the auto franchise. But I think it'd be an interesting debate. I need to continue to, this is something where I'd be happy to engage in that. So I appreciate the question, Michael.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate all the good work you're doing.
Yeah, thanks. Remember, we still have a good list of folks, but if you could push a 0 on your touch-tone phone, I'll try to get through as many as possible. Next up, we have Rex. Rex from Porter Township. Are you there, Rex?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Eric. And how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I know that you come from a farm family. As a matter of fact, I haven't been over to see your grandmother for quite some time, and that's always fun to sit down and talk to her. But if you're successful this November, I will be getting together with you to pursue a change in the Right to Farm Act.
Okay.
You have my address there from that the girl took, and you may know where I live anyway. And I have this huge erector set sitting 190 feet from my front door in an irrigation pivot/well. The well, capable of pumping over 100,000 gallons a month or a minute out of the ground, sits 220 feet from my existing well. and you won't find another one in such a proximity in your whole district.
Mm-hmm.
And they certainly wouldn't have been successful in putting it across the road from your driveway. When I went to the...
I have a grape vineyard across from me in my driveway, but...
What's that?
I have a grape vineyard across the road in my driveway. So,
okay.
But no, I know what you're saying, though. I'd be happy to sit down with you later this fall if you want to get a hold of my office, and we can, I'd be happy to come out there or take a look and see what your thoughts are. Does that sound good?
Yeah, and when I went to the tax review board, because and telling them that I thought that this devastated my assessed value on my home, it was treated pretty much as a joke because, haven't you heard of the Right to Farm Act? And yes, I certainly have, because I spent enough money along Van Cal keeping ag land into just that, agricultural land.
Mm-hmm.
And so after your success in November, I will be getting together with you to pursue a change in the Right to Farm Act.
Well, I follow up with me on that, and I look forward to sitting down with you. Okay?
Yep. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Rex. Appreciate it. Again, simply push 0 if you have some questions or concerns. We're going to go with Gary from Hartford. Gary, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Eric. This is Gary from Hartford.
How are you doing?
We're doing great. A couple things. Madeline started it, but this Hartford's having a millage and a millage vote. And anybody from Hartford listening, the township or city, please vote yes. We need your yes vote. And Eric, we want to thank you as a part of the Hartford Foundation for coming to our auction and being part of it and contributing both in giving gifts and purchasing, which is great. But my actual question was that I'm getting a lot of things in the mail, as you know, from all corners of the world here. And the Democrats are pushing hard here about the budget deficit, the declared war on seniors, and with Eric's vote, all the seniors are going to be eating dog food and that. And I wanted to get your side of the story on the senior tax retirements and raising the senior property taxes.
Well, that's a good question. First off, I have no idea what they're talking about in terms of raising anybody's property taxes. That it seems to be just a political talking point. The bill that they referred to on the footnotes takes me to a bill that eliminated the Michigan business tax in Michigan. And you're right. There's been some changes in terms of what I consider working to make a fair and more equitable tax system. So I guess the first thing is that if you're 69 and older, there was no changes in terms of your tax structure, in terms of your retirement tax structure. Now, the old system, why do we make, any changes? Well, previously, retired politicians or government workers, they pay 0 taxes on their pensions. For example, retired Lieutenant Governor John Cherry and Dick Posthumus, who made over $100,000 a year on a pension. Now, I'm not going to probably ever get a pension. I don't have one now. And they were, earning nearly $100,000 a year from their pension, and they were paying 0 in state income tax. 0. Right. While, whether it's farmers or retired private sector employees or those with 401k incomes would pay tax on their benefits. So you had a 72-year-old who was working would pay tax on their working income, but you'd have somebody who was 55 and retired and was not paying any state income tax. I believe in a system that doesn't, the tax code doesn't dictate, isn't dictated by what job you have. It's dictated by a fair and efficient and low system. So I look at my dad, who's 67 years old, working 15 hours a day. He's paying his full state income tax. And you look at somebody down, down the road who's retired at 55 with a pension, and they're not paying any tax. I think there's a fairness issue there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so as part of the changes that, at the state level, Social Security still is not taxed. The income tax rate was reduced for everybody by about 0.1%, so we lowered the overall tax. And low and middle income seniors, those that were born between 45 and 62, so those years, still have a $40,000 married couple exemption on pension income. And so as you look at the reforms, part of it was to ensure that we were able to do away with that old Michigan business tax, which was one of the worst taxes in the nation. And that was double taxing small businesses because it taxed them at both the individual level and it taxed them at the business level. And you talk to any small business owner that had to deal with that tax code, and it was beyond a headache. It was impossible to figure out. And so looking at it is now we're working on, creating, in terms of instead of having it dictate on where your income's coming from or where it is, trying, work, having a senior exemption so that everybody can have, the same chance. But you're right. There was changes in the tax code, and it's never easy when change comes about. But I tried to work to make it as fair as possible, especially those in their 70s and 80s who are already retired. I felt you shouldn't have changes done to them. And those in their 60s, they were close enough to it that I felt that providing an exemption for individuals was a good thing. But when you look at it completely tax-free, for example, it's just like a 401k where they pay taxes it was pre-tax income when they put it in, and then you pay taxes when you take it out on 401ks.
Right.
Those folks were taxed before, and yet those with pensions weren't. I think there's a lot of fairness issues that go on. And so that's kind of, I guess the quick background. Whenever you do changes, there's always some that are hurt and some that are helped. For example, on the business side, they say it was to finance a corporate giveaway, I think is what some people say. Well, what it did was really into double taxation for small businesses. You talk to folks at Dow or General Motors or Lear Corporation, they're paying a larger tax than what they were before these tax reforms went through because they had all these tax exemptions and credits and special corporate giveaways that we did away with. We replaced with a 6% flat corporate income tax rate. As it was unfortunate when the Michigan business tax was created, there was at least 36 special tax exemptions I could count in there, and, special giveaways, and where your small businesses didn't have the same. So I don't know if that helps answer some of the questions.
It does.
And so the overall tax reform was a net, it was a net tax code of about $250 million, but it did increase some taxes, decreased other taxes, but I felt it got us to a simpler, more efficient system. And I know that whenever you do reforms, some people are hurt, more than others because they were able, back in the day, they were able to get a certain exemption, and that's always a challenge. So, but I appreciate the question,
okay.
Gary.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, absolutely. So next, again, if you have a question or concern, simply push 0. I'm going to try to get through a few as quickly as possible. I believe we have about 15 minutes left on the line. So we have Reverend Steele, it says, from Mattawan.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Oh, doing pretty good. I'm in an assisted living facility now. I'm a retired Methodist preacher, and so my kids got me in here. But I'm concerned about what you're doing in the area of higher education. Of course, I was married, and then after we married a couple years, it took me 5 years to get through 4 years of college because I was working full time, being the oldest of 8 kids, and then I went to seminary 3 years, and then went back and got a second master's degree in counseling psychology and worked with drug addicts and alcoholics at Battle Creek, VA for almost 30 years. so education has been a real important part. I just wonder what you're doing in helping to support higher education for young people.
Yeah, I mean, higher education, it's out of, a lot of people feel it's out of their range, and that's why I believe it's about working with high school students to, figure out what the best avenue is for them, whether it's career and vocational education, whether it makes sense for them to do dual enrollment in high school for, at the community college, trying to figure out what their interests are, or ensuring that there's, accessible, affordable, higher education opportunities. I mean, my parents, I always say I was on my dad's scholarship. He said he dropped me off at college, and I'd have to find my own way to pay for it and my own way to get back. And and it's a challenge. And as I've mentioned, I'm still paying on my own college loans, so I know how tough it is to get those paid off. I paid off my undergraduate loans a few years ago, still paying on some of my graduate loans. But we've, in terms of public schools in Michigan, higher state universities, we've provided an incentive payment to ensure that they, a lot of times, if you remember, just 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we'd always see these 7%, 8%, 6% tuition increases all the time. You can't keep up with that stuff. It's unseemly. And the cost of higher education's been, and you start doubling, 6, 7, 8% every year, and that really grows quickly. And so the last 3 budgets I've worked with my colleagues to put incentive payments for public schools and saying, if you keep your tuition increases under 3%, you can get this extra pot of money. Now, it's not a solve-all. Don't get me wrong there, but it at least slows the growth in terms of the cost of education. 2011, when we were facing $1.5 billion deficit, stood up and worked with my colleagues to say, we're not going to cut community colleges at all, because that's the most accessible and affordable place for students to get further in education. I did a total of 27 credit hours at Kalamazoo Valley Community College. I know it was a great savings for me. And then it's also, I talk to probably somebody every 6 weeks who has $35,000 worth of loans, went through, college, and they have a job that did require additional training and licensing, but it didn't require a college degree. Now, I don't want to prevent anybody, say you shouldn't go to college. What I'm saying is that if you have other goals or meaning in life and trying to create a vocation or a career, that there are other opportunities than just a 4-year degree straight out. I remember my, friends from high school going on to be pipe fitters and welders and carpenters, and they were making, more than a lot of times I've been making over the last decade. But it is trying to empower those students of where do they want to go. And we were able to increase the amount for public schools by 6%, higher education by 6% this year for our colleges, and that's tied with trying to make it, so the state pays more and the students can pay a bit less. But it is a combination of public responsibility, private philanthropy, and individual choice, and in terms of making it affordable. So not one secret potion, but it's something that you're right, we need to continue to work on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yep. Next up is we have David, I believe another one from Kalamazoo, probably from Cooper or Alamo Township out there.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Comments. Yeah, a couple comments. One is, amen, brother, on the college isn't necessarily for everybody. Our son went to Kalamazoo Christian. He now works for the Michigan's largest non-union electrical shop, and is an electrician, 26 years old, and doing very well. Skilled trades is really a place for a lot of young men and women, and we need more skilled tradespeople. My brother's a diesel mechanic.
So
I think that encourage young people, and like I said, college isn't for everybody. The other second thing is that your comment in response to the teacher that was on the line previously with the two masters, $15 an hour. I got to tell you, I know people with double masters in public education are making more than $15 an hour, and I'm getting kind of sick of hearing the school teacher thing. They're not in the military, they're not serving as a police officer, and for me, I think that those people, I thank them for their service. The teacher, that's their chosen profession. They're not protecting us. They don't put their life on the line every day. So they have an option of taking their college educations and going elsewhere and using that and getting more money.
They do, a lot of them do provide a good service for our students and trying to make sure that they're educated.
And it's by their what I'm saying is it's by their choice. They get tired of the teachers union. So my question to you is, what is it that you can do to prevent the funds that the sportsmen and women of Michigan are paying into as far as licensing fees for hunting and for rights to hunt on state land? That fund has always been cash rich. What the funds are rated out of there by other committees. What can be stopped where those funds that we pay into as sportsmen and women can go back into the wetlands and buying more land for us to hunt and so on and so forth?
Well, there's a few things here, David. A lot of the fish and sportsman licensing and hunting licenses, those fees, a lot of go into whether it's the hatchery in terms of making sure that there's the lakes are stocked or DNR officials or proper wildlife management. One of the areas that I think a lot of people lose sight of is the Natural Resources Trust Fund, which is actually used for purchasing of land. That money actually comes from the state land leases for oil and gas development. And, for example, right now, south of Lawton, there's about 400 acres of land being purchased for, both conservation, but also allow for hunting, expanding the 40 acres that are at the McKinney Wildlife Production Area. And that's the same as the Calhaven Trail. Some of the, it's Natural Resources Trust Fund money, but that comes from the 30 years ago, the voters in Michigan approved in the Constitution saying that state lease sales from oil and gas production would go into the Natural Resources Trust Fund. That'd be used for paying in, using to purchase land, using to upgrade our facilities to have access to our outdoors. And so it's a really unique system that there's actually $500 million right now in the trust fund. And actually from the lease sales for natural gas development back in 2010, 2011, $180 million was added to it. And so it's something where I think a lot of people lose sight of when they go on a rant about oil and gas production in Michigan, that these monies are actually going back into protecting and conserving a lot of the lands around the state. And now it's at its maximum cap of $500 million. And now there's $300 million in the State Parks Trust Fund. And I know there's been a lot of ideas in trying to raid each of the trust funds, as Michigan's had some tough economic times. There hasn't been a vote on it, and I think the system works pretty good now, and I don't think that it should be raided and used for other purposes. I think the voters in Michigan spoke that that's where we want those revenues to go. So I hope that helped walk through a few of those issues.
Yep.
Well,
very good.
Thanks for the call, David. Appreciate it. Let's try to do a quick little lightning round as we have just a few minutes left. Doyle from Kalamazoo, I believe that's Doyle?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Thanks for hanging in there. Do you have a comment or question?
Quick question. US 31 or M31 or whatever it is, 31 coming from Grand Rapids on up to, goes clear up north. What is the holdup of getting that highway across 94?
Are you talking What was the holdup 30 years ago or today?
Today, 31. Not 131.
Yeah, 30 years. 31. You're talking up through from Niles on up through Benton Harbor that connects onto 196 that isn't finished yet. When they were first building the connecting road in 31, that there was the EPA list endangered species was in that area. That's why you had to get off at the exit before. Apparently the butterfly has moved out of that area, and so they can go ahead, but now it's probably it's around $100 million is I think holding us up from it now. But originally when they so it's money now, but 30 years ago it was the Endangered Species Act.
Oh, I thought so. I thought it was mosquito or something that has hold us up.
Yeah,
so it was butterfly.
Yep, good question. So. Thanks so much. I'm going to try to hit a few other callers before we have to hang up. So.
All right.
Next up, we have Julie in Pawpaw. Julie, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. So I'm trying to hit a few more questions before I have to hang up. It's only an hour call, but what's your question?
I want to know what you think of the new design of the roads in Pawpaw on Red Arrow Highway.
Yeah, it takes me quite a while to get through the town.
Isn't that awful?
I'll tell you that much, but that's something where the village made, those are village roads, and so I don't, have direct oversight of that, and I know that they're trying to test them out, but if you have a backup camera, it's a lot easier to back up than if you don't. I know that much also. So, but,
well, they shouldn't have been allowed to do that on Red Arrow Highway.
Yeah, well, that's so Red Arrow outside of the village is a county road, and inside the village it's a village road. And so I'm sure as much action and as many constituents have been talking about it, I'm sure it's not the last we've seen in it, but that's something where encourage you to talk to your village council or the village manager in Pawpaw. They have the oversight of it. So
okay, that's what I shall do.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Next up we have let's do Dwayne from Lawton. We're just about running out of time. Dwayne, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, and thank you for the chance to ask you, in committee now is a bill called 970, which has to do with commercial vehicles. Now, you haven't had a chance to vote on this, and I don't know how apprised you are of this bill, but if you are, I'm wondering if you're familiar with it, and if you're not, I'd like to tell you my concerns.
Yeah, well, I'm not overly familiar with it. I'm not on the transportation committee. I know it passed out of the Senate, and there's a few things that I guess it does is it revises the commercial driver's license knowledge and skills testing standards, and requires new federal minimum standards for states to issue commercial learner's permits. It's mandated that the CLP holders must meet virtually the same requirements as those for a CDL holder, and this means that drivers holding this would be subject to the same driver disqualification offenses apply to a CDL holder. The purpose of this rule is to enhance safety by ensuring that only qualified drivers are allowed to operate commercial vehicles. I guess the bottom line is what I understand is that these changes are mandated by the feds to allow for more uniform sharing of data between the states, but you disagree with that.
I disagree with that. I think if the feds mandate it, it'll be a federal law. So why has the state got to try to supersede all the regulations? Actually,
there's some rules that as the federal government comes on, and it's been challenges. I can name a few dozen pieces of it where, because we have our own program in the state that oversees stuff, but then if we're out of compliance by federal law, that they either take it over or that they say we're, that they disqualify us. But this is something that It's not going to be, I know, not seeing action in the next few weeks, but I'd love to be able to sit down with you and kind of discuss what your concerns are more, more in depth, if that's okay.
That'd be wonderful. And I want to assure you that just for those listening, that this is not a fact. That we have many carriers that are already leaving the state and already have left the state because they know this regulation is coming true.
So you're saying it's above? Okay.
They have already left the state, and more are leaving it, and they're going to other states because of the stringent laws that Michigan is putting on them. In order
so
to
you're saying it goes beyond what the federal government is actually mandating.
Yes, that's the,
okay.
That's the
well, that's something I'd be happy to sit down with you on.
They're mandating even how you couple a truck and outlawing automatic transmissions. We allow automatic transmissions in cars. We ought to be able to allow it in trucks. And,
well, I'd be happy to sit down. You have my number, don't you?
I probably can get it. No, I don't.
Yeah. Why don't you give me a call and let me know when a good time is to stop by, okay?
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Dwayne. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us this evening. Sorry I didn't get to everybody. I tried to make it through as many questions as possible. I always find this is just a great way of connecting with folks throughout the district, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you do have any further questions, comments, or concerns, I'm always happy to hear you out, and I always look forward to remaining available and accessible to everyone out there. So with that, have a great evening, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.